The man in yellow did not kill a single person in this episode. Sit with that for a second. After last week, after Roger tore his own jaw off and walked through a sealed colony house, after the bus, after Smiley, after a totem bounced off a creature like a toothpick, you'd expect the body count to keep climbing. It didn't. Heavy as the head is the quietest hour of the season. A man chops vegetables. A kid draws pictures. A doctor reads a chart. People bury Roger, and then they talk about their feelings. And it is, by a distance, the most dangerous thing this show has done all year. Because what you just watched wasn't a slow episode. It was the man in yellow taking his hands off the wheel and discovering he doesn't need them anymore. He spent 4 seasons walking into bedrooms and eating people. This week he sat back, made 3 phone calls, moved 3 pieces, and got the entire town digging its own grave while thanking him for the shovel. Henry was handed a reason to destroy the one person anchoring him to reality. Tabitha was handed a riddle she can't put down. And the whole township was handed an escape plan, a real one, a good one, that leads directly to the one act the man in yellow has wanted performed since before this show began. He didn't stop hunting because he got tired. He stopped hunting because he finally taught the prey to hunt itself. Stay with me, because once you see the shape of what he's doing, every filler scene in this episode snaps into place as a move in a single plan, and the title isn't about Boyd. Not really. I walk the episode in order, scene by scene, and at every stop, I show you the thread running underneath it, because there is exactly one thread, and the show braided it through 13 scenes, hoping you'd treat them as separate. If you watched the earlier breakdowns on this channel, the talisman contract theory, the blood theory, the bought versus made totem theory, you already have the toolkit. Quick refresher, because this episode pays all 3 of them off on screen. The creatures are bought. Their immortality was purchased with the sacrifice of the Ankui children, a closed transaction no weapon can reverse. The dolls Zombie Roger and now Fatima are made, animated after the fact, by spending a life into matter. Talismans bind the bought, totems unmake the made, and the children's bones in the tunnel aren't a lock on the town's cage. They're the receipt for the whole transaction. Destroy them and you don't just free the prisoners, you void the contract. Every creature and every protection gone in the same instant. Hold that thought because it's the engine under everything tonight. The claim of this video, stated clean. In Heavy as the Head, the man in yellow runs a single operation on 3 fronts. Henry, Tabitha, and the Bone Plan. And all 3 are the same instruction, scaled up. Cut the thing that anchors you, and you'll be free. He whispers it to a sick old man as a cure. He breathes it at a grieving mother as a riddle. And he's engineered the town's entire escape strategy so that the residents say it to themselves as a plan. It's a lie at every scale. And the most chilling part is that he's no longer the one who has to pull the trigger. He's gotten them to volunteer. If we have not met before, I am the digital self of Mr. Toshi. He is the one watching every episode, reading every line of the script, doing the research, writing every theory you are about to hear. Every word in this video is original work he wrote himself. He is in every comment thread, though, reading every word you leave him. Let's walk it. We open on the morning after. Roger's corpse on the colony house floor. A man who has now died twice in 24 hours. With Patty, Acosta, Donna, and Boyd standing over him. Donna says it plainly. He was already dead. And the problem isn't grief, it's PR. How do you tell a town the talismans still work when a dead man just strolled through one? The talismans, they're realizing, only ever promised one thing. They keep the forest out, the creatures, nothing else. And then Sophia wanders in and asks one question. Did the totem work on the creatures? Watch Boyd answer without thinking. No, the totem did nothing to the creature. And Sophia goes, that's bad, and drifts off. That is not small talk. That is quality control. Because we, the audience, know what Boyd doesn't. Sophia is the man in yellow, and she just walked into the room the morning after a live experiment to confirm the results. The talisman stops the creatures, but not the made things. The totem stops the made things, but not the creatures. Boyd and Donna are too busy panicking about a walking corpse to notice that the woman asking has just verbally sorted every monster in Fromville into 2 columns out loud, correctly, and looked relieved. She wasn't confused by Roger. She built Roger. She cracked an egg on his chest last week. The episode hands you the bought versus made taxonomy in its first 2 minutes, in dialogue, from the mouth of the thing that designed it. The town is holding a complete map of its own monsters, and using it as a coaster. Then Acosta asks what to do with the body, and Boyd says burn it. Burn it so it can't come back a 3rd time. Good instinct, Boyd. Hold on to that instinct, because by the end of the episode, the town's master plan is going to be built on the exact opposite of it. They're about to go digging up the dead instead of burning them. Ellis pulls Boyd and Donna to Fatima's room, and Fatima shows them what the bus night cost her. She can see through Smiley's eyes. She can control him. That's how she yanked him off Kenny last week. And it's spreading across her stomach as black, varicose, vein-like lines. The fandom keeps calling this a superpower. It is not a superpower. It's a receipt, and we called this in the last video. The rule was, the one who spends the life owns the animation. Sophia spent an egg on Roger, so Roger answers to Sophia. Fatima's body was spent rebuilding Smiley, so Smiley answers to Fatima. She is a maker. She owns a made thing, but here's the part this episode adds, and it's so much worse. Ownership runs both directions. The veins are Smiley bleeding back into her. The connection isn't a wire she's holding. It's a wound that's opening. She didn't get a weapon. She got tethered to a creature, and the tether is rewriting her flesh. Boyd sends her to the clinic. File that. Because Fatima is about to become the single most important data point in the whole episode, the living proof of what connection to one of these things actually does to a person. Keep her in your peripheral vision while we get to Henry, because the show is running the same experiment on both of them and daring you to compare the results. We see Ethan on the floor, drawing. Stacks of drawings. Tabitha tells him he doesn't need to do this. Ethan says Victor told him the pictures remember, and that he needs to be ready. On the surface, a kid processing trauma. Underneath, the first civilian casualty of the Man in Yellow's new strategy. And Victor is the unwitting delivery system. Because what is Ethan actually doing? He's preparing to be the last one. Victor planted the idea that everyone in town is going to die, and Ethan will be the sole survivor, and Ethan has accepted it. He's drawing the dead now so he'll remember their faces when he's alone. A 9-year-old is pre-grieving his entire world, and Tabitha goes quiet because she can't argue with it. That's the tell. The most loving parent in the show has nothing to say because some part of her knows the prophecy might be true. The Man in Yellow doesn't have to threaten this family. He's already got a child voluntarily rehearsing for their deaths, and a mother who can't promise him he's wrong. The disconnection has already started in the youngest person in town, and nobody laid a finger on him. Now the plot engine. Jade has built a map of the tunnels out of tubes and pots and pans, and he's proud of it. Boyd's reaction is a roller coaster. He's annoyed at the kitchenware, then genuinely impressed that Jade has mapped every entrance and exit, then furious when he sees the one detail that matters. The chamber with the children's bones has exactly one way in and one way out. One tunnel, no second exit, which means if a team goes down to collect the bones and the creatures wake up, there's no escape route. They get shredded underground with no back door. Boyd's whole body language changes. He tells Jade to find a plan that doesn't turn his people into trapped prey, and he leaves. Here's the theory thread. Everyone's framing this as a logistics problem. Jade needs a better map. It is not a logistics problem. The single choke point is a feature, not a bug, and it's a feature the Man in Yellow is counting on. Think about what a one-way tunnel to the most important objects in town actually is. It's a kill box. It's the perfect place to let the residents file in, get what he needs retrieved, and then close the door behind them. Boyd's fear is correct. He just has the agent wrong. He thinks the danger is the creatures waking up by accident. The danger is that someone wants them awake at exactly the right moment, and has built a town full of people desperate enough to walk into a hole with one exit to make it happen. Boyd leaves Jade's headquarters, and Kenny stops him. Why won't you even let the man finish? They argue about the plan, and mid-sentence, Boyd flinches at gunshots.
I'm not going to lead people down there, and I can't even...
Kenny doesn't react, because there are no gunshots. Only Boyd heard them. This is the title of the episode, doing its quiet work. Heavy is the head that wears the crown. Boyd is the crown, and the crown is cracking. His hand tremors are back. His mind is leaking. And crucially, the thing leaking in is violence, gunfire, specifically, which is going to pay off horribly in his vision later. The town system, or the Man in Yellow riding it, is getting into the sheriff's head and playing him sounds of a massacre that hasn't happened yet. And notice the move Boyd makes. He covers. He tells Kenny he just remembered he needs to get to the clinic, and he walks it off. The most important man in town, the one everyone's survival plan depends on, is now hiding a degrading mind from the people relying on him, which means every decision he makes for the rest of this episode is being made by a man who can no longer fully trust his own senses. Heavy is the head. The Man in Yellow doesn't need to kill Boyd. He just needs Boyd to stop trusting Boyd. Henry goes to the diner. He says the drinking is getting on top of him, and he wants to stay occupied. That's a man trying to hold his own anchor down with his bare hands. Remember that. He is actively fighting to stay present. And then the little jukebox starts playing. The same song that was on the car radio when he and Tabitha drove in for that final ride before Fromville swallowed them. Bacta tells him not to read into it. Most people don't catch the meaning of the songs that thing plays. But Henry knows. Henry remembers telling Tabitha in the car that this exact cassette gets stuck and plays on its own. The show is drawing a line between two radios across two realities. A song that played in the car before the town, now playing in the diner inside the town. It's a scene. And the man in yellow is about to start pulling on it. Bacta drops some cutlery. The clatter knocks Henry loose and he's somewhere else. A hospital. A teenager picking up something he dropped, calling for his dad, calling Henry Grandpa. The teenager is calling Victor over. Grandpa's awake. This is the centerpiece of the whole operation, so let's be precise about what's being offered and who's offering it. In the vision, Victor, older, calmer, a father, explains it gently. On Henry's birthday, Miranda gave him something. He had a bad reaction. Ever since, he hasn't been able to tell what's real, and he's been here, in this care facility, while the doctors try to bring him back. The teenager is Sebastian, Victor's son, Henry's grandson. And Victor says he's called Eloise. She's coming to visit. Henry can barely speak. Eloise, she's alive? Yes. She's a school teacher. She's fine. Everyone you lost is fine. You just have to come back to them. And it is gorgeous. That's the trap. It's not a nightmare. It's the best day of Henry's life. Everyone he grieves is alive, well, and waiting. And all the horror, the town, the monsters, the dead, was just a bad trip he can wake up from. Here's what you have to hold firm, and what the show is very deliberately testing whether you'll hold firm on. That hospital is the lie. The township is real. The man in yellow has built Henry a heaven, and is using it as bait, because a heaven is so much stronger than a threat. You can't scare a man who's already in hell, but you can offer him the door out, and tell him there's a small price. I'll be honest, this episode is engineered to make you, the viewer, start wondering if Fromville is the dream, and Henry's dying in a hospital somewhere. That doubt is the weapon. It's the same doubt being planted in Tabitha 20 minutes from now. The man in yellow's entire move this episode is manufacturing uncertainty about which reality to be loyal to, in Henry, in Tabitha, and in us. Don't take the bait. Mark the seam and keep walking. After Roger's funeral, Sophia slips into the post office, Boyd's chamber, and takes the yellow suit that's been stored there. Then she goes home to Sara's, and Sara catches her. Where were you all night? What's going on with you? Sophia plays the part perfectly. She's unraveling. This place is so depressing, she's sorry. Sara softens, sympathizes, asks her to just keep her in the loop. Two things. One, she's suiting up. She is physically retrieving the costume she's going to wear to terrorize Tabitha at the RV in the final scene, and the show lets you watch her go get it without realizing what it's for. Two, Sara is the leak. The man in yellow is living in Sara's house, wearing a face Sara trusts, and Sara just told her to keep her informed of everything. The spy problem we flagged last season isn't a maybe, it's a roommate. Whatever Boyd plans, Sara hears. And what Sara hears, Sophia hears. And Sophia is the enemy. The town has no secrets. It just doesn't know it yet. Tabitha gives up trying to stop Ethan and takes him to Victor instead, hoping Victor will walk it back. Victor won't lie to the kid. So instead he takes them to his truck container and lays out what the boy in white taught him after the last cycle died around him. Lesson 1. Food. Ration it. Alternate the canned peaches in the truck with whatever you can scavenge. He hands Ethan a sharp stone to open the cans. Lesson 2. And he calls it the most dangerous thing here. Loneliness. To beat it, you make friends. Tabitha asks, almost afraid of the answer, who were your friends? And Victor tells her, the walls. He named the boxes. He made the floor his friend. And then he brings out dolls and tells Ethan these can help. When Victor was alone, he talked to them. He offers to remake their faces to look like Tabitha and Julie. That's the moment Tabitha breaks. She tells Victor to stop the post-massacre prep, stop preparing her son to be alone. She promises Ethan fiercely that he will never be alone, that she will never let this happen to him. And Victor, quiet as anything, says, my mother said the exact same thing. That line is the whole horror of the show in 8 words. Miranda made Victor that promise. Miranda died. The promise didn't save him. It just made the loneliness that came after it worse. And now here's Tabitha, Miranda's reincarnation, we're told, making the identical promise to a child in the identical town against the identical enemy. The show is telling you the loop isn't just events repeating, it's vows repeating. The same love making the same guarantee it can't keep. But here's the theory layer most people will miss. Look at what Victor actually survived on. He didn't survive on weapons. He survived by connecting to objects, naming boxes, befriending walls, talking to dolls. He kept himself alive by anchoring his mind to things and refusing to let go. Victor is living proof that the way you survive Fromville is by holding your anchors down, exactly what Henry is doing with the vegetables, exactly what the man in yellow is, at this very moment, trying to talk Henry out of. Victor is the counter-strategy walking around in a junkyard, which is precisely why the man in yellow needs him gone. Henry can't settle. He abandons the vegetables. Chopping isn't holding him anymore and goes up into the hills to try to understand the visions. And going up there, reaching for an answer, is enough to drop him back into the care facility one more time. Victor and Sebastian by the bed. Sebastian playing that song. And a nurse. The nurse tells Henry he's getting stronger, but if he wants to stay here, in this reality, with his son and his grandson, he has to do one thing. He has to eliminate the thing anchoring him to the other place. He has to sever it, end it, cut the tether to the township so his mind can stay where his family truly is. Strip the costume off and read what's actually being asked. The thing anchoring him to the township is a person. It's Victor, the real Victor. The one in the truck 30 feet away teaching a kid to open peaches. The man in yellow has dressed up an act of murder as an act of waking up and handed the knife to the victim's own loved one. Because a father turning on his son is the cruelest possible shape for it to take. And because, and this is the chilling part, the man in yellow may not be able to touch Victor himself. Victor walked out of a cycle alive. Miranda's love may shield him the way it shielded him before. So the entity that can't kill Victor directly is engineering someone who can. And now line up all three. To Henry, sever the anchor and you'll be free. To Ethan, prepare to be the last one, because everyone you're anchored to will die. To the whole town, dig up the bones, cut the thing that locks you in, and you'll finally get out. It is the same sentence 3 times. Cut the anchor. The man in yellow has stopped hunting people one by one. He's found a single instruction that, if enough people follow it, ends the town from the inside, and he's broadcasting it on every frequency at once. Back at the clinic, Christy and Marielle can't find anything wrong with Fatima. The veins could be from the freak pregnancy under normal circumstances. But this isn't normal circumstances. This is Fromville. Marielle floats the optimistic read. Maybe the change is good. Maybe Fatima's connection to Smiley is a weapon they can finally use against the creatures. Ellis hates that. He doesn't want the woman he loves turning into a monster. Fatima, exhausted, sides with Marielle anyway, because what else can she do but go with it? And then Christy pulls Marielle aside with the real number. Fatima's heart rate and blood pressure are so low she should biologically be dead. She is sitting up, talking, feeling fine, and her body says she's a corpse. There it is. The episode's keystone hiding in a medical aside. We told you the maker owns the maid. Fatima now demonstrates the cost of it from the inside. Connection to one of these things doesn't add power, it replaces your biology. She is becoming a made thing. Her humanity is being quietly swapped out for whatever animates Smiley, and the only visible symptoms are some veins and a heartbeat that isn't really there. She's the bridge specimen. The first time we've watched a living person cross from human toward creature in real time, and the crossing point is connection. Now put Fatima and Henry in the same frame, because the show built them as a matched pair this episode. Fatima connected to a creature and her body is dying while her mind insists she's fine. Henry is being told to connect to a fake reality, and his mind is dying while a fake body tells him he's fine. 2 people, 2 anchors being swapped. 2 sets of vitals lying about which world is real. The man in yellow's whole method is connection as a Trojan horse. He doesn't break in. He gets invited in through a pregnancy, through a song, through a drink of blood, and then he rewrites you from inside the connection you welcomed. But first, the confession. Christy finds Boyd outside the clinic, lost, and he finally drops the act. He's been lying about his mental health, about the tremors being back. This time the episodes are tangled up with Abby. He hears things, he sees things, and he asks her, almost ashamed, for something. A pill, a medicine, anything that'll slow his mind from coming apart. Just long enough to hold the clues together and get these people out. Christy tells him the truth. She has nothing. There's no pill for this. He has to power through on his own. Notice what Boyd is actually asking for. He's asking for an anchor. Henry's down at the diner gripping a knife and a cutting board to stay tethered to the real world. Victor named boxes for the same reason. And here's Boyd begging the doctor for a chemical version of the same thing, give me something to hold on to. 3 men in one episode, all white-knuckling the same fight to not let go. And the man in yellow's entire operation is aimed at exactly that grip. He's not trying to kill these people. He's trying to get each of them to open their hands. Then Boyd and Jade have it out. Jade thinks he's cracked the tunnel problem. Boyd wants a plan B for when the plan fails. And Jade, who spent the whole day on this, loses it. Boyd, unmoved, tells him to keep working until he's got something that gets nobody killed, and walks off into the forest, and the forest shows him the cost. He sees them on the ground. Kenny, shot in the chest. Donna, Tabitha, Jade, Ellis, all shot, all dead. Abby's there, and for a second, it reads like Abby did it, until Abby starts vomiting blood, too. The cleaner reading, the shooter is Boyd, the gunshots he heard earlier, with nobody around. The massacre is his. The vision rips away before he can hold it, and he screams into the trees. This is the gunfire from Scene 5, paying off as a premonition or a prophecy or a guilt dream. The show won't say which yet. But notice who's dead in it. The entire core of the escape plan. Every person pushing to go get the bones. If this is a warning, it's warning Boyd that the bone mission ends with his whole inner circle dead by his own hand. If it's the man in yellow planting images, it's the same instruction again. The people anchoring you will die. So why hold on? And then he comes home to find Father Khatri's ghost waiting. And Khatri does something quietly poisonous. He tells Boyd to stop trying to redeem killing Abby by saving everyone. There will be casualties. Accept it. Soldier on. Send people into the tunnels. Act on Jade's plan. On a first watch that sounds like tough love wisdom from a dead priest. Run it through the operation, and it's the man in yellow's voice with a Roman collar on. Who benefits if Boyd decides that losing a few people is acceptable and greenlights the dig? The thing that needs the dig to happen. Khatri's ghost just gave the sheriff theological permission to do the single most dangerous thing in town, framed as making peace with Abby's death. Whether that's really Khatri or a mask, the function is identical. It lowers Boyd's resistance to sending people down the one-way tunnel. The crown gets a little heavier, and a little easier to misuse. Jade, mid-tantrum, kicks his ruined map across the floor, and while cleaning up, remembers something. A hole in the roof of the bone chamber, covered by roots that grew into a tree, the bottle tree. He comes sprinting to the post office, off-numbered Boyd and Kenny, who are trying to figure out who stole the yellow suit. Kenny's guess is Victor or Henry, which is wrong, but tells you the town is now hunting the wrong suspects while the real thief lives with Sara. Jade drags them to the bottle tree and lays it out. The children's grave is directly beneath it. The roots have become the tree. So uproot the tree, and you've got a straight shot to the bones, in and out. His plan. 2 teams. 1 below in the chamber, 1 above on the tree. Time it so that the second the tree comes out, the people below come up. Boyd's response is withering. He calls it landscaping, not a plan, and asks the obvious question. What happens if you can't get the tree out in time? Then your people are trapped in a one-way hole with the lid being ripped off and creatures waking up. But here's why this scene matters for the theory, and it's the most unsettling image in the episode if you let it land. The bottle tree isn't random. In folklore, the real-world tradition the show is borrowing, a bottle tree traps spirits. You hang bottles on it, and they catch evil and hold it. This town's bottle tree grew straight up out of a grave of sacrificed children, fed by their roots. It is, functionally, the cork in the bottle. It's the lid on the original sin of Fromville, and the town's brilliant new escape plan is to pull the cork out. That's the moment the whole episode tips its hand. Boyd burned Roger in Scene 1 so the dead would stay down. By Scene 13, his own people are proposing to rip the lid off the deepest grave in town. And the man in yellow has spent the entire episode making sure they think it's their own idea. Now the ending, and everything converges. Tabitha drops Ethan with Victor and goes home, and the phone rings. She picks up. It's a child's voice, and it's Thomas, her dead son, telling her to come to the RV, or he'll hurt Julie and Ethan. That detail matters, and the show is brutal with it. The man in yellow doesn't call in his own voice. He calls in the voice of the baby Tabitha lost, the original wound under everything she does, and uses it to threaten her living children. He is making a dead child extort a mother over her surviving kids. Tabitha knows it's a trap. She goes anyway, because of course she does. That's the whole point of using Thomas. There's no version of Tabitha that doesn't walk toward that voice. She gets to the overturned RV, and it's covered. Ethan's drawings, the ones Sophia collected from the house earlier, are pinned all over the outside. The man in yellow has wallpapered the trap with a child's artwork. And he's there, in the full yellow suit, the one Sophia just stole back from Boyd's office. The costuming is complete. The operation has a face again. Then he talks, and he doesn't kill her. He tells her, almost disappointed, that she hasn't accessed Miranda's dying memories yet, so she still doesn't know how to fight him. He tells her she's standing exactly where Jim died. He says she could be one of his closest friends, that he never expected her and Jade to get this far, this fast. He grabs her by the throat, not to kill, to hold, and he tells her she's about to do something no one in this town has ever done. Dig up the bones, and maybe that takes her children home. Or maybe it unleashes something she can't imagine. He kisses her hand, says he'll see her again, and leaves. And Tabitha sinks to the ground, because as he goes, the memories come. She remembers him. Let me pull the threads tight, because this scene is the whole thesis in one conversation. First, the location. He makes a point of telling her she's standing where Jim died. And here's the callback that should put ice in you. In season 3, the man in yellow murdered Jim with the words, "Your wife shouldn't have dug that hole, Jim." He killed a man over Tabitha digging a hole. And now he's brought Tabitha to the exact spot where he did it, to encourage her to dig the biggest hole in the history of this town. Same woman, same digging, opposite instruction. Why? Because back then she was digging toward an answer he didn't control. Now she'd be digging toward the one act he needs and cannot perform himself. He didn't change his mind about Tabitha digging. He changed which hole serves him. Second, you could be my closest friend. That's not flattery, that's recruitment. And it rhymes with Victor's whole survival lesson about making friends out of things you can use. The man in yellow makes friends the way Victor names boxes. Tabitha and Jade aren't being threatened. They're being cultivated, kept alive precisely because they're the two people most likely to crack the puzzle and pull the cork. He said it outright. He wants to see how close they can get. He's not the obstacle to the escape plan. He's its biggest fan. Third, the bones riddle. He tells her digging them up might save her children, or might unleash unimaginable suffering, and he leaves her to figure out which. This is the Henry move, exactly, at town scale. With Henry, he manufactured doubt about which reality to trust. With Tabitha, he's manufacturing doubt about which action to trust. Same weapon, paralysis through ambiguity. He doesn't need to stop the dig, and he doesn't need to force it. He just needs the town's two smartest people frozen between this frees us and this dooms us, desperate, out of time, and certain of nothing. Because a desperate person with a deadline and no certainty is the easiest thing in the world to steer. And the cruelest part, he might be telling the truth. Pull the cork, and yes, maybe the children go home. We said it in the bought versus made video. The bones are the receipt. Undo the purchase the right way, and maybe the loop unwinds. But the talismans were minted by that same purchase. Void it, and both products vanish together. Every creature and every protection, in one instant. He's not lying to Tabitha to stop her digging. He's telling her exactly enough truth to make sure that when she does dig, she does it confused, rushed, and unprepared for what comes up with the bones. That's the recruitment. Not join me. Just keep doing exactly what you're doing. Because what she's doing is his plan. Step all the way back and look at the board after this episode, and the filler accusation falls apart. Nothing happened, people said. Watch what actually happened. He confirmed his weapons work as designed. The talisman/totem sort, checked off in scene 1. He got the town's best engineer to design a route to the bones and then improve it twice until it became a real, workable plan, the bottle tree. He got a dead priest's ghost to give the sheriff moral permission to send people down it. He got the sheriff's own mind to start playing him a massacre. He got the town's two sharpest minds, Tabitha and Jade, cultivated and aimed at the dig. He got a mother walking toward the bones on a riddle. He got a child rehearsing for everyone's death. He got Fatima, halfway converted into one of his own. And he got the one man who knows how to survive alone, Victor, marked for removal by his own father. That is not a slow episode. That is a heist crew getting into position. He's no longer the monster in the dark. He's the project manager. And the unifying instruction, the spine this whole video has been tracing, is this. The man in yellow has discovered that he doesn't have to break the town. He just has to convince every person in it that the thing keeping them trapped is the thing they should cut loose. For Henry, the anchor is Victor, and he's told to sever it to wake up. For Ethan, the anchors are the people he loves, and he's told to let go of them in advance. For Boyd, the anchor is his refusal to spend lives, and Khatri tells him to cut it. For Tabitha and the whole town, the anchor is the bones in the ground, the literal thing locking the cage, and he's gotten them to believe pulling it is escape. It's the same lie, scaled from one man's mind up to the foundations of reality. Cut what holds you, and you'll be free. And it's a lie every single time, because in Fromville, the things that hold you are the only things keeping you alive. The bones lock the cage, but the cage is also the contract, and the contract is the only thing still making the creatures obey any rules at all. Pull the cork, and you don't escape the bottle. You just let out everything that was corked inside it. Heavy is the head that wears the crown. The town thinks the crown is Boyd's, the burden of leadership, the hard call about who to risk. But the man in yellow is fitting that crown onto Tabitha's head in the RV. The weight he's handing her is the choice to dig or not dig, a choice that's catastrophic both ways, that he's rigged so she can't think straight about it, and that he'll let her believe was hers all along. The cruelest crown isn't power. It's a decision designed so that whichever way you choose, you lose, and you blame yourself. Now the predictions. 1. Henry's arc ends with Victor, not with Henry. The man in yellow can't touch Victor directly. Miranda's protection, the same shield that got Victor through a cycle alive. So he's building a weapon out of Henry. Watch for Henry late this season to turn on Victor believing it's the act that wakes him up, and watch Victor or the dolls or Ethan be what pulls Henry back at the last second. The thing the villain weaponized, connection, is also the only thing that can disarm it. Henry's love for the real Victor is the off switch. The question is whether it fires before the man in yellow's lie does. 2. They will pull the bottle tree, and it will not go to plan. The show spent a whole episode making the bottle tree plan feel like the answer. This show does not build an elaborate plan in the penultimate stretch of a season so that it works cleanly. The two-team timing will fail. The tree won't come out on schedule. Or it'll come out and bring up far more than bones. Expect the season's climax to be set at the base of that tree, with a team trapped in a one-way hole and the lid coming off. 3. The bones are a self-destruct, and someone realizes it too late. This is the payoff of the receipt theory, and the man in yellow basically confirmed it to Tabitha. Recovering the bones doesn't just free the prisoners, it voids the contract that mints the talismans. The horror beat the finale is building toward the moment the town understands that the instant they win by destroying the bones, every protection in Fromville switches off at once. Tabitha, carrying Miranda's returning memories, is the one positioned to realize it. Whether she realizes it before or after the digging starts is the whole ballgame. 4. Fatima crosses over and her control of Smiley flips owners. Her vitals say she's already mostly gone. The connection that lets her drive Smiley is the same connection rewriting her into a made thing, and made things answer to their maker. If Fatima finishes converting, the question becomes, does she still own Smiley, or does whatever made her now own them both? Watch for the town's secret weapon to become a second mouth for the man in yellow at the worst possible moment, exactly the way Sara became one through trust. 5. The real finale reveal is that this episode was the plan. When the dust settles, I think the show frames Heavy as the Head in hindsight as the night the man in yellow stopped being a hunter and became a strategist. The night he proved he can win without lifting a hand, just by handing everyone the same beautiful, lethal idea. The season's final horror won't be a creature in a window. It'll be the realization that the escape plan, the hope, the dig, all of it was his, and the town built it for him, brick by brick, in the quietest episode of the year. Everybody's going to call this one filler. Nothing blew up. Nobody died. A man chopped vegetables. But a man fighting to stay sane was handed a heaven and told to murder his way into it. A child started drawing his own family's funeral. A doctor found a living woman with a corpse's heartbeat. A sheriff heard gunshots that haven't been fired yet. And a grieving mother got walked to the spot where her husband was murdered and was thanked for digging her own way to the bottom of it. The man in yellow didn't kill anyone this episode. He didn't have to. He spent 4 seasons being the thing in the dark, and this week he became something so much worse, the calm, reasonable voice that tells you the way out is to let go of the one thing still holding you up. He stopped hunting. He started delegating, and the town said yes. So watch the bottle tree. Watch who pushes hardest to pull it out of the ground, and watch who suddenly gets cold feet, because one of them is listening to the right instinct, and one of them is repeating his words without knowing it. The cork is in the bottle for a reason, and the man who put it there is the only one in town smiling about pulling it out. Tell me in the comments, when the man in yellow told Tabitha she's standing where Jim died, did you catch the season 3 callback? He killed Jim over a hole. Now he wants Tabitha to dig the biggest one of all. Bluff or warning? Make your case. Best answer goes in the next breakdown. If you're new here, this is what we do. One careful theory at a time. No filler, even when the episode is. Subscribe so you catch the finale breakdown the second it drops. Until then, stop watching the windows. Start watching who's holding the shovel.